Apex Online Racing is sponsored by Elgato, who created this lovely stream deck. For more information about the stream deck, the link is in the description below.
Hello everyone and welcome to Apex Online Racing F1 PC round number 15. We are here today in Mexico City for the Mexican Grand Prix. My name is Fizzymon and I'll be your commentator once again today for some exciting action as we are getting news from the coordinator now that quality is dry. The race will start out dry, but the end of the race will be wet. So let me go ahead and make sure that I turn off the notifications, and we'll go from there. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting race today as the drivers are getting out on track to do their preliminary hot laps. And we'll curious to see what kind of pace we can see from the field. I'm just trying to edit some of the settings real fast in Discord. We'll turn off notifications because we don't want any interruptions in the stream, necessary or not. So Mexico City, this track gives us 17 turns, 3 sectors as always, where there is one huge long straight to start the lap. Going into turn 1, which is a heavy braking zone. That's into a 90-degree right-hander, into a pretty, not a quick chicane, but not a slow-speed chicane for turns 2 and 3, into the second of 3 DRS straights, then into turn 4, and that brings it out right into the right-hander of turn 5, and then the hairpin of turn 6. Turn 7 is where we say hitting and going through now, which begins the S section of the track, which is a nice left, right, and then left at the end from turn 7 all the way to 11. This little kink right here is not classified as a turn, but as he comes to the end of this DRS straight, he comes into sector 3 and turn 12. Turn 13 is the other hairpin of the track. The slowest portion of the track is the stadium section here, where you go through 13, 14, and then 15 here, and then 16 and 17 to round out the lap. So it's a pretty quick lap for the most part. We do expect to see drivers in the 1:12s. 12s. As for how low they go, that is to be determined, as I've heard some various reports on how fast some of these guys can go. But I am more than happy to see it. Everyone is on the soft tires right now, and there are several strategies that I do expect to see today. The first of which, with starting on the soft tires, is the soft, medium, soft. So that strategy is probably the main strategy, as Dues sets our first time as a 113.388, definitely a respectable banker lap. But we're currently looking at Tom97, our championship leader, who is looking to start on the soft tire and start towards the front. He simply needs to get 7 more points than Paris Burrell, who did not race last week. Actually, no, sorry. He needs to score at least 7 points to win the championship today. Actually, it might be 9. I'll have to redo my math. We'll do that in between as drivers sent down their banker laps. But riding on board with Tom97 right now as it goes out of the final corner. His first lap will be a 1:12.9. Drivers are already into the 12s, and Tom97 is up to provisional pole. So, but back to talking about that strategy for the race. So first off, we can start out with, it's the soft, medium, soft strategy. The second ideal one, if you do not want to start on the soft tires, would be medium, soft, soft. Drivers could go soft, soft, medium, but it doesn't really make sense to finish the race on the slower compound tire. And the third strategy, which probably won't be used but could be, is a medium to hard. any other strategies. Like, you could do a bunch of strategies around here because of the short pit lane, but those are the 3 ideal strategies that I expect to see today, barring any incidents. So now looking at how the field has come about right now, look at Scrippy, who is currently going through the first sector right now. He's got a pretty good run through turns 2 and 3, and now into DRS straight, hugging the right-hand side of the track immediately to get as tight of a line as possible. He comes at the end of Sector 1 with a 27.8, which is a very good Sector 1 time, but I expect to see drivers in the 0.7, maybe even the 0.6s today. So we'll have to see what happens. But right now, Tom97 has almost 3/10 on Christian Sendel in P2. So, but once again, I do expect more drivers to get into the 12s at the very least so far. So as Scrippy here invalidates his lap, not what he wanted to see. In the 3rd sector, it looks like we have a Renault on a lap. Is that Kalachu? No, that is Kalachu's teammate. That is Brownie F1 coming through the final corner right now. His lap's looking like it'll be probably a 113 as he comes across the line. It's a 113.7. Not a bad lap for the Renault driver, but he's looking to start up a lot higher than what that lap would put him at, as Kryzix steals provisional pole position with a 112.962 by 9 thousandths of a second over Tom 97. So a solid lap by Kryzix, a very good biker, that's for sure. But with 12 minutes left in the session, anything can happen. Kalachu, who I was talking about before when I thought he was coming up, invalidated his lap by the looks of it. Whether or not he'll go again, we'll have to wait and see. Another driver out on the lap is CNLP. He's a little farther up the road from Kryzix. We'll kind of see what kind of first sector he has, if it's going to be competitive or not. Coming up to the sector mark, it's 27.8. It's a similar first sector to what we saw out of Scrippy. Question is, will he keep his lap valid? So he goes through the middle sector now, loses the rear end a little bit on the exit of turn 6. Now going into the fast S's. He's right on board with him. Is he carrying enough speed? Looks like he's backed out of it, so looks like CNLP has decided to throw away this lap. Paris Burel is up to P3. I just noticed that, but it looks like Jan Failer came across the line and promoted himself to P5. So some very good first provisional laps so far for Kryzix and Tom97 at the front of the field at the end of these first runs. Starting their second run is actually Duza. Duza set the first lap on the track, now currently on his second flying lap of the section. Let's go ahead and look at the gap between the drivers right now as Dylan Warren displaces his teammate and is now 33 thousandths off the pole. But let's keep on board with Duza now as he goes into turn 4. It's 27.7. It's a slight improvement from the first sector, but that lockup will not help him. Going through 5 now, and now into the 6 and 7, which I called a hairpin. That's all considered turn 6. For some reason, I would like to call it 2 corners, but I just gotta make sure I don't make a mistake. But through turn 6, now 7, as he invalidates his lap. Not what Duza wanted to do, but with 10 minutes left, he's sure got plenty of time. But you know, you gotta be careful, because if you're gonna use 2 sets of soft tires in the race, you got one that you're gonna qualify on, and preferably one that is fresh. So these drivers will have at most 3 runs, so that's what they'll want to do. But any more than that is going to hurt their actual race. A solid lap by Dylan Warren, who's currently on an in lap, up to P3 and very close to pole on his first banker lap. So see if anyone else is currently on a hot lap right now. Warren's lap is invalid. I think that is best lap. Yeah, so that's best. And we'll go with fitted right now. Warren, is he back into the pits? Yes, Warren's back into the pits now. Kalachu's on some older tires right now, but he's not pushing. Not sure if he's got enough fuel. No, he's out of fuel, so that is unfortunate. Is anyone on a push lap right now? Looks like Scrippy is. He is in Sector 1. So we'll keep an eye on the Mercedes driver, the Hungarian, once again. We'll see what he can do on this lap. He did a 27.8 first sector last lap that he invalidates. 27.9, so a little slower so far. Almost 10th down. Can the Hungarian improve through the middle sector now? We'll have to wait and see. He needs to keep it valid, and I think that's going to be his biggest priority, because in an 18-car field, losing the rear end out of turn 6 is not what you want to do, especially, like I said, with an 18-car field. Around this track, it's not hard to overtake around here, but at the same time, you don't want to be starting in the back as he invalidates on the exit of turn 11. Another driver to fall victim there. So track limits will definitely be an issue for some of these drivers today, so we'll have to keep an eye on it. But let's keep a look at Kryzix is starting a lap right now. Tom 97 is in the S section right now. Let's keep an eye because he's coming up to the sector 2 mark. Is he improving on this current lap? Gets a little bit of tow from hitting in, probably unintentionally. He's currently even on his lap. So can he gain the time he needs in the final sector? Slight lockup going into the hairpin now through 14 and 15. Very squirmy into 15. Now 16 and into 17. Now he is back into the pits and aborting this lap. Where is Paris Burrell at? He was helping out Dylan Warren, but the two of them are giving each other toes, but Burrell has invalidated his lap. Next across the line is Norbert Jacob coming out of the final corner, and across the line is 113 flat. A very good lap for the Hungarian, but he's going to look to improve on that time. Looking farther back right now, who's coming up next? That's Bogan coming across the line right now. And then it looks like Failer is starting his lap as well. We got a Ferrari behind. Is that Christian Sendel? No, that's Florian. Florian Knapik is up to P2. Actually, he's up farther ahead. I don't know who that Ferrari was. I think it was Zoran coming out of the last corner. But Florian Knapik up to P2. 3 thousandths of a second off of Kryzix. So Kryzix setting the pace and coming across the line right now on an abandoned lap. He opens up the DRS. He might be going for another attempt now by the looks of it. Drivers putting on, looks like they're invalidating a lot right now, which is really prohibiting some of them from showing their true pace, as I'm sure they're trying to take it easy and take it safe. But we'll have to keep an eye on how the session goes on. We've got 6 minutes left, and I'm sure some of these drivers will be just, you know, ready to risk it all as they come to the latter parts of the session. Who else is on a lap? It's FCT Daigoro, who has not set a lap. He is currently on a lap right now, one of the drivers who was promoted from the old F2, formerly racing in the Xbox splits. Daigoro coming out of 17 now, comes across the line with a 14 flat, good enough for P15. Also coming across the line is XPG Bogan, who shoots up to provisional pole. I want to switch to him, but it didn't matter because he had already gotten pole by 8 thousandths of a second over Kryzix. Does Kryzix have an answer? Kryzix is currently matching his lap right now, but in the third sector, can he get the run he needs out of 16 and through 17 now? It's flat out from 16. It's a 112.962. It's 1 thousandths of a second improvement, but he's still 7 thousandths off of Bogan. One of the Red Bulls comes across the line. That's Dylan Warren into pole, with Paris Burrell dropping into the pits, but Warren up into pole position by 1.5 tenths with a 112.8. A phenomenal lap by the Red Bull, the Red Bull driver behind him is Scrippy. Scrippy still has not set a valid lap, and he's going to have to start one now. So the Mercedes driver looking to get a move on. Ben Q goes up to 15th position. Not sure why I didn't switch to him. There we go. And the Haas moves out of last position, tied for last, and he now has a valid lap. It looks like Tom 97, our championship leader, on an out lap right now and beginning a third hot lap of the session. Not sure if he'll go for a fourth based off of the tire usage, but I'll have to keep an eye on it. But Tom looking to wrap up the championship today. If he finishes 6th place or higher, he will win the championship. It's guaranteed no matter what, because that's even if Paris Burrell wins. So Tom 97 looking at a great result, going wide out of 3 there. Did not invalidate his lap, but it definitely lost him time, that's for sure, as he did have to probably lift off there. And the first sector marks at 27.8, so he definitely has more time in the back of his pocket. But coming out of turn 3 and losing your hand is not ideal as he locks up through 6. Pretty clean on the exit, though. Keep an eye on Tom now, going through the S's now, right on board with him, hugging each apex and the curves right now, riding them very closely, flat out and into the DRS detection zone, now onto the DRS part of the track. He's purple through sector 2, 37 thousandths up on his lap, but that is not good enough for pole. He needs to find over a 10th in this final sector. Can he do it? Through 14, and he has invalidated his lap once again. So Tom will not improve on this lap. Scrippy is our only driver on track currently on a hot lap. I'm not sure if it's an in-lap or a fast lap. We'll keep an eye on his first sector mark. It is definitely an in-lap. He has a 28.9 first sector, is nowhere near what he's able to do. So all the drivers now either in the pits or on, well, CNLP is actually, he's on an invalidated lap. So all the drivers are on an in-lap. Well, no one is on a lap right now on track. So the only one who will be starting one soon is Hittinen, who's on an out lap. But the rest of the field in the pits right now as they gear up for one more run, one last minute attempt. Now, what I was told is that some of these drivers do have potential to go all the way down to 12.4. But with the track limits around here, even the smallest of mistakes will invalidate your lap, which is definitely why Mexico is not the, I'd say it's not everyone's favorite track. I mean, I personally love the track, but it's not a fan favorite because the track limits are very harsh around here, and with how high speed it is and how twisty and turny, it is very hard to invalidate your lap. So let's ride on board here with Hittinen now, as he is got over half a lap over the next nearest driver, who is Kryzix. But Hittinen down the long main straight now, DRS wide open. He's gonna go screaming into turn one, breaking it around the 100-meter board, locking up a little bit, carrying a lot of speed down the third gear. Back up to fourth, short shifting up on exit, keeps the traction. Now down into the second DRS straight, and then into turn four. His first sector time's at 27.6. That was a fantastic first sector, but that lockup surely will not help him. Holding third gear through 4 and 5. Now through the double-hander of 6. Did not lose any traction. Looks like he was a little slow there because of the fact he stayed in third. But we'll keep an eye on his lap right now. Down to 5th and short shifting up to 6th through the S section now. Hittinen is on a very good lap right now. Full throttle through the S section and into the DRS zone now. End of sector 2. He has not really improved on his lap, so I think he can get some more time in the final sector. As he comes through now through 14 and 15. The lap has stayed valid. A little bit of a lockup once again. Those lockups are not going to help him. Now coming out of the final corner, he's going to come across the line to be at 13.4. Not a bad lap for the Finnish driver, but he is only up to P14, and I'm not sure if he has enough time to improve as we go on. The next driver who will come across the line is Kryzix, but Kryzix looking like he's backing off of this lap. He is on slightly worn tires, so that will not help him. His teammate who just passed him was CNLP. Not a lap. Dylan Warren on a lap, a little farther behind. It's hard to tell who's currently on a flyer. I mean, Duza is on a flyer. Duza is in the second sector. His teammate Jan Fehler crossed the line to start a lap. The other Renault about to cross the lap as well. Both of those are on laps. But Duza, next one across the line, and he is going to invalidate his current attempt, which is not good for the McLaren driver. He has enough time for one more attempt, but does he have the fuel? I assume so. But we'll keep an eye on the guys up front. Dylan Warren currently entering the third sector now. Didn't get to see what his delta was. But now as it goes through 14, now 15, 13, 14, and 15, he's keeping it valid. But this is not a hot lap. He's going to go one more time around the track. He's got enough fuel for it. And Dylan Warren, a current pole sitter, will go once more. In the final sector now, I've got Scrippy starting a lap. Behind him, is that Florian or Tom? Looks like that is Florian. Florian's on an out lap right now. Tom 97 is on a hot lap. And with 9 seconds to go in the session, I don't know if he has enough fuel for one more lap, so this will be it. Tom is going to cross the line. It's a 1:12.7, a little bit of desync there on the time, but that is provisional pole position. Tom has a 10th clear of Warren. It looks like Norbert Jacob, who's is on an invalidated lap, he will not improve from P7. Next across the line, Jan Fehler coming out of the final corner. He's up to P2 with a fantastic lap, a 1:12.7 high. Behind him is that Kalachu. No, yes, that is Kalachu, but Kalachu is round. He will not improve on his time. Where is Kryzix? We saw Kryzix towards the front. His teammates a little farther up the road. Is that Dylan Warren ahead of him? No, that's Paris Burel. So Paris currently coming out of the final corner now across the line. He goes up to P4. Kryzix down to P6. He invalidated his lap. He will not improve. Next cross line is Brownie. Will Brownie improve? Brownie does not. Dylan Warren in the final corner now. Can he steal pole position? No, he will not either. So, excuse me. Les Zoran has an answer. Zoran does not. I don't know why it's continually changing positions on me. Every time I hit a button to change to a position, it flips right back. So I might have to restart my keyboard there. Zoran will retire. Then Kalachu is retired. Tom's the only one who's on a lap. but he is clearly on an in lap. So Tom 97 in the race that could seal the championship has stolen pole position with a 1:12.718. Jan Fehler 61 thousandths of a second behind with a 1:12.779. Warren with a 1:12.803 for third, and Paris Burrell, his Red Bull teammate, and the only championship contender left, sitting in fourth with a 1:12.849. So not what Paris wanted to happen to him today. Tom 97 looking at right now our current pole position. Bogan is going to qualify P5 with that 1:12.954. He's got a broken front wing in that Williams. Not sure how that happened, but Polish driver with probably one of the strongest qualifying performances of the season. And 6 is Kryzik, a 1:12.961 in a very close battle between him, Florian Knapik in 7th, and Scrippy, who got himself up to P8. Norbert Jacob is down in P9, and Yafatari and Christian Sendel will round out our top 10, currently sitting in the Ferrari, coming through the final corner now. So very interesting qualifying session. Wasn't able to capture all the action this time around, unfortunately, but that's okay. Sometimes it happens. There is our qualifying results. Now, like I said, Tom 97 is on pole, and alongside him in the front row is Jan Fehler. Continuing on what we were saying before, Kalachi will be starting P11, the first driver to have his choice of tire compounds at the start with a 1:13.1. So the Frenchman will certainly be happy about that. Dewes is starting P12, Hittinen in 13, Brownie in 14, Zoran in 15, CLP in 16th, BenQ in 17th, and FCT Diagoro was unable to improve on the lap we saw him do, starting in P18. So a very big grid today. Definitely a spread out grid with a couple clusters of drivers who did put in very close margins in between each other, like Tom, Jan Fehler, and Warren all within 85 thousandths of a second with each other, and then several drivers from P4 onward, very close. So now, while we are currently loading into the race session, now let's take a look at the championship standings. Tom 97 currently leading the championship. Like I mentioned, he's got a 68-point gap over Paris Burrell. So if my math serves me correctly, all he needs is to get P6 or better to win the championship. And that's assuming Paris wins the race. Paris does not win the race. If Paris actually doesn't finish in the top 2, he doesn't get first or second, Tom wins the championship. So we'll keep an eye on Paris today. So he's currently sitting in second. Jan Fehler in third right now with 142 points, only 5 points clear of Brownie, who we overtook at Coda after Brownie had a horrendous race for him, unfortunately. Padlet Futes or Norbert Jacob is currently sitting in P5, not too far out from that third place battle, but he's going to need a little bit of luck here to catch up. In 6th place, we got Kryzik. In 7th, it's Dylan Warren, who's had some up and down results this season. Scrippy sitting in P8, once another driver with up and down results, with his up being a race win. Christian Sendel in P9, and XPG Bogan or PL Bogan in P10. So Bogan, who had his best qualifying result, which is not as good as his best race result, looking to have a good day. Florian Knapik in a P11, who's shown some really strong pace, but has had some unfortunate luck in the races. And Michael Tanitsa, who is not racing today, in P12. So that is your current top 12 in the championship. You can see the rest of the field behind him. Looking to see how the race goes today, as the drivers are currently on the track and beginning the formation lap. Game is predicting a 2-stop strategy, as I was talking about. With it says soft, medium, which again doesn't make sense when you do soft, medium, soft. But with the rain forecast at the end of the race, curious to see if drivers decide to elect to go on the medium or a hard tire in that second for that. After that first pit stop for that second stint, see if they try to stretch it to the rain. Not sure if they're feeling comfortable with when the rain does come in, and if it'll be heavy enough to warrant a tire change. So we'll look at the tires starting compounds right now. Colacho, interesting, starting on the hard tire. So he might be trying to go all the way to the rain, which is contrary to what the strategy I was talking about, as I doubt he goes onto the medium tires later on. Brownie, CLP, and Daigoro also doing it. So it looks like that my strategy predictions were wrong, but that's okay. It happens. But yeah, so top 10 starting on the soft tires per park firmware regulations. Kalachu on hards, Dews on mediums, Hittin on mediums, Brownie on hards, Zoran on softs. So the only driver outside the top 10 on softs. He's looking to make up a few positions off the start. CNLP hards, BenQ mediums, and Daigoro once again on hards. We'll keep an eye on Tom 97 right now. I'm going to quickly go ahead and use the bathroom, and then we will be underway here in Mexico City. right, and we're back. The drivers currently forming up on the grid now. We got 18 cars, which is half the amount of laps that the total race is, which is 36 laps. It's going to be a long one here in Mexico City, but the laps will be pretty quick, and everyone knows that the rain will be coming eventually now. So the drivers are on the grid right now. We got 1 light, 2 light, 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights. And away we go in Mexico City. We are here and the lights are out and the drivers are on the move right now. Jan Fehler with a fantastic start. He is sat alongside of Tom 97 going into turn 1 right now. Let's see if we can get a better camera. Yes, there we are. Jan Fehler side by side with Tom 97. They're going to go 2, 3 wide in the background, but Tom will break later and hold on to the lead. We got everyone making it through these first few corners. No one is round. Tom is away though. Dylan will hold on to 3rd. Paris Burel into 4th, but Florian Knapik on the move right now. He's on the right-hand side trying to make a move around the outside of Paris into 4. Can he hold it around the outside? Yes, he's still has half a car length in there through 5, but Paris will hold on to the position. Bogan down to P6. Oh, we see an end play flying. That is off of Bogan's Williams. That will certainly hurt the Polish driver's race, as he will have to come pit and change that front wing if he wants to have a chance. Norbert Jacobs up to 8, and Scrippy's currently in 9th. Norbert locks up a little bit. Don't think he realizes that Bogan has that wing damage, but the drivers have made it through the first few parts. We got a lot of action around P7. Bogan holding up a little bit of a train because of that wing damage. He goes wide going into the 3rd sector. He might have to come pit now. He's got Scrippy coming up his inside, so Bogan will drop down the order. He is falling like crazy. It might have a little bit more wing damage than we suspected. Yeah, see, Bogan is into the pits and will change that front wing and change tires and have to go onto an alternative strategy. But we are still going on. Tom holds on to the lead. Is there any other position changes? Yes, Florian is up 2 positions. Norbert up 2 as well. Zorn up 4 positions. Starting on the softs is working miracles for him. He's only got 1 non-soft runner out in front of him. That is Kalachu, who's on the rear end of Christian Sendel right now. So very good start for those guys. And our biggest loser right now is Bogan, who had to pit and change his front wing. So hopefully we'll see him brought back into the fold later on as our current leaderboard shakes up a little bit, but that is due to the game being funky right now. Our current race leader is Tom 97. Bogan is only in the 1st sector right now. So ignore that aside. Tom ahead of Jan Fehler right now. Fehler looked like he had the run going to turn 1, but he broke a little bit earlier. Tom broke that much later. Was able to swing it around the outside to hang on to the lead. We got a nice little train as there it goes. Bogan properly is moved to the bottom of the grid where he is currently placed at on the field. So as we come to lap number 3, DRS will be enabled this lap. Drivers will not have access to DRS though until they get to the 3rd DRS straight, as Ben Q is the first driver to pick up a penalty, and getting it on lap 3 is not what the Haas driver wants today. So definitely not what he wants, but well, that'll be okay now as they go through turn 1 and then 2 and 3. Our race leaders, everyone's for the most part within DRS range of each other except for the likes of Scrippy. He's slightly falling off the back of Norbert Jacob, which could cause a rift between 7th and 8th and possibly make 2 trains, but the Mercedes driver just needs to get 210, so he's not too far back off of Norbert Jacob. He needs to get a move on now. I'm going to adjust the volume a little bit because it is a little loud in my ears, and I'd rather not be hearing the sounds of engines. As much as I love the sound of the car engines, those V6 turbo hybrids, I would much rather make sure I'm saying the right things than, you know, spittering out utter garbage. But speaking of utter garbage, that is not what Tom, Fehler, Warren, and Burrell are doing at the front of the field right now. They're trying to pull away from the field, lapping pretty quickly, but they still got most of the drivers in tow thanks to DRS. Scrippy has now dropped 1.4, so the top 7 starting to pull away now. And DRS is Florian loses DRS to Paris, but he got it back all the same. So he's barely hanging on by a thread with the Red Bulls. So that is crucial. If he can help his teammate out a little bit and battle the Red Bulls, especially Paris, who he might just seal it for Tom, but Tom right now not looking like he needs the help. So keep an eye on that as we go on, but lap 4 out of 36 now. Drivers kind of holding stationary. Christian Sendel is actually going to go up the inside. Scrippy into turn 1, and the Ferrari will have the position. Kalachi trying to make the move on Scrippy as well. Scrippy cuts turn 3. We'll definitely get a warning about that. And now Scrippy does not have DRS to defend from Kalachi, but he certainly has the gap to stay ahead of the Renault. You can drive in the league if you have to sign up on the forums and you get placed into a tier. You won't necessarily be put in this split. You get put in the split with your respective space. Now, there's only 2 races after this, but you're more than happy to join in on the fun for the last 2 races. So, yes, I do recommend signing up. The next season will start, it's to be determined, but soon, end of March, beginning of April at the earliest. So, back on track to the action now. There's a 2.2 second gap between Hitman and Zoran, so everyone but Kalachu, when it comes to the non-soft runners, has fallen off a little bit. But that's to be expected as the softs are pretty quick on these early laps, as shown by Tom right now. Behind him, though, Kryzik just reeling in Florian Napik. He's 0.376 behind him. He's got a decent amount of battery still left. Not sure how much Florian has in front of him, but we'll have to wait and see. Kryzik's now all over the back end of Florian as Zoran and Duza battling in the background. Zoran hangs on to position. Not sure if Duza lost the rear end or whatnot. Well, actually, no, they didn't change positions because Duza was 2.3 back. I thought that was weird. The Delta lied to me there. So, anyways, back onto the track right now. Kryzik's hanging onto the rear end of Florian Nappi. Definitely looks like he's faster than the Alfa Romeo driver at this time. But the driver ahead does have DRS, so it's going to make it that much harder to make the overtake work. And saving battery around here isn't hard, but it's also not easy. This track does use your battery because of that long straight. So, and a lot of it, there's very few heavy braking zones to really charge it up. So you got to be really careful on when to deploy that overtake button. As Norbert Jacob is the second driver to grab a 3-second time penalty, does it on lap 5. So the AlphaTauri driver, another driver falling victim, which we'll keep an eye on those time penalties as we go on through the race, as Jacob does enter the pits now. First off runner to pit. He pits at the start of lap 6, so a very early pit stop. Didn't expect him to come in that early, as the TV cameras are a little funky there. So that'll create an even bigger rift between Kryzik and Christian Sendel. He's kind of falling off the back. Kalachu trying to make the move on Scrippy down the main straight, but he breaks that much earlier. He doesn't have the grip advantage at the moment, it seems, but he's all over the rear end of Scrippy, so he certainly has the pace to keep up with the soft tire runners, just does not have the tire advantage at the moment. But we'll keep an eye on the Renault driver as he goes forward, as he breaks very late there, as Florian Napik picks up a 3-second time penalty up towards the front, still hanging on to Paris, Burel, and Warren. But we're keeping an eye right now on Kalachu, who's all over the rear end of Scrippy. He just looks that much faster, even though some of these other drivers showing that the soft tires are still really good at this stage. One thing to know is Jacob did pit onto the medium tires, and he has a 12-second gap to Bogan, so Bogan will be a little farther back on his second stint, so he's got a lot of work to make up. But Jacob currently now in 17th and looking to get the nice undercut on the front runners. Are any of the front runners coming into the pits? No, not by the looks of it. No one is reacting to his early pit stop. They're going to try to stretch out these soft tires for at least one more lap. So keep an eye on it. I think our close about CNLP picks a penalty. It's not even worth me really talking about half these penalties, as they will come in like crazy. But we'll keep an eye on it. And just again, we'll just sign up on the forums, and you're more than welcome to drive in Apex Online Racing. We are always welcoming new drivers. That will provide your answer better than I can, as I do not have control over placements. So that is the best answer I can give you, my man. But back to the action now. Looks like Kalachu is still close to Scrippy, but is not able to make the overtake on the Mercedes driver. Christian Sendel hasn't really lost any time to Kryzik's ahead, but he is 3.2 seconds behind and does not have that DRS help that Kryzik's does. So the Ferrari driver is showing some really good pace, just unfortunate that he's just a little farther back due to Norbert pitting. But interesting enough, that AlphaTauri driver is closing in on his teammate. He's only 4 seconds behind Daigoro. So the drivers ahead start to pit. They will come out in traffic, but you can see the clouds now forming up in the sky all of a sudden. So rain might be coming sooner than the end of the race. We'll have to keep an eye on it. We have another driver into the pits. That looks like it's Florian Knapik right now. Yes, he is into the pits, going to get rid of those soft compound of tire. Curious to see what tire he puts on. Probably the medium, so we'll keep an eye on that. Kalachu is out of battery right now. Not close enough to make the overtake on Scrippy this lap. Ben Q is into the pits and retires. As Dylan Warren picks up a time penalty. So not sure why Ben Q retired there, but Warren picking up a time penalty is huge as he's currently running in P3 and can very well get a race win. Interesting enough, Norbert Jacob has undercut Florian Napik. He just gets barely ahead of him. So the pace that Norbert's showing is really good, but Florian is on that soft compound tire. So I guess Norbert thinks that it's going to be a little longer till the rain comes out, while Florian says otherwise. Florian goes up the inside into turn 4, and he will have that move done on turn-in as the soft tires just have that much more grip around the circuit. So Norbert just needs to stay in the DRS range of Florian, and he will be just fine. But they do have lap track in the form of Norbert's teammate FCT Daigoro, so maybe an AlphaTauri sandwich might be in order. Now Tom 97 is into the pits. Our race leader is Harris in the pits as well. No, I thought he was for a second there. It's just Tom in the pits. Doesn't look like anyone else is in the pits right now. Kalachu though, all over the rear end of Scrippy. Car length and a half behind. Scrippy has DRS though on Christian Sendel, but Kalachu will be gaining. He will be gaining a lot of time going to turn 1. He's going to try to go around the outside. He leaves Scrippy enough room on the apex, and Kalachu has 6th position, and he is on the move right now. He's going to need to save a little bit of battery life because he is very low on battery, but now he's on the rear end of Christian Sendel, and he's going to want to make up another position. Now, looking at what our former race leader came out of the pits, Tom 97 is ahead of Florian, who's also ahead of Daigoro, so we missed that overtake as Paris picks up a 3-second time penalty as well. Another front runner to pick up that penalty. But Tom has a 1.8 seconds over Florian, who not only made the move on Norbert, but he also was able to make the move on Daigoro, as Daigoro now has fallen behind Norbert Jacob as well, and he is dropping down the order on those hard compound of tire. Now, will Jan Fehler come into the pits this lap? No, he will not. He's going to stay out another lap. But Paris Burel is into the pits. The Red Bull driver deciding now is the time to come into the pits. So Burel will keep an eye on where he comes out in respect with Tom. He might have very well been undercut. He is currently on the soft compound tire, so it looks like the soft strategy is working because of the rain. So all my strategy predictions are out the window now. But Brownie, interesting enough, we talk about him as a former race leader. He's currently battling Tom 97, not really battling as Tom goes through. But Brownie on the hard compound tires, he is like CNLP. If he can stay out on the hard compound tire till the rain, he might be in for a special treat right now, as he hasn't really fallen off from these leaders. But he's going to have to keep with them, which is a tall order on 10-lap-old hards. So as we carry on, the driver looks like he's in the best position right now. Will have to be Kalachi, as long as he conserves his battery life, keeps those tires clean. He right now is looking like he can make it to the rain. If he can make, and Kalachu picks up a time penalty. So I just commentator cursed him. I am sorry, Kalachu. But either way, Kalachu looking in a very good position right now. How much time does he have on? Oh, wrong button. Making minor mistakes here, so I do apologize. He's got 9 seconds to Tom 97, our former race leader, as now Warren goes into the pits. So Warren in the pits now. Fehler staying out and Kreisig staying out. So those guys staying out very long on their stall. So is Christian Sendel. Curious to see if they think the rain's going to come out sooner or later than later. But that gap that Kalachi has is Tom sets the fast lap with a 1:15.5. He's got that gap right now. It will shrink a lot. Warren will come out of the pits really far down the order. He's going to come all the way down, up behind Norbert, behind Paris, ahead of Daigoro. So Warren dropping down the order and is out of DRS range of his teammates. But like I was saying, Tom will be lighting up the leaderboard right now in the timing sheets, but he still has a decent amount of gap to go through. We've got Zoran and Duza going side by side through 4 and 5, and Duza will be ahead of Zoran as he is on the better compound tire at this stage, considering they're both on 10-lap-old tires. I mean, they do have Hittinen and Tom 97 in the background, Hittinen on the same tires as Zoran, but these two guys, if they keep battling it out, will give the buffer that Kalachu needs to Tom 97 if Kalachu wants to steal a podium or maybe even a race win. Right now, it's still looking good for Tom because right now he's ahead of Paris, which will give him that championship that he definitely would like to have. But on lap 12, anything can happen. We got the two Red Bulls going, one of the Red Bulls going side by side. Why is it not switching? There we go. Paris going side by side with Norbert Jacob going through 16, now 17. They're going to go side by side onto the straight. They should both have DRS because they got Brownie right ahead. And it's a Red Bull sandwich for Norbert Jacob. You could argue all three are Red Bulls, but we won't talk about that right now. Norbert trying to retake the position from Paris. He's going to swing to the right-hand side of the track, but he's going to come back over as he realizes the move can't be done. And instead, Norbert is going to be overtaken by Warren. He's going to try to hang it around the outside between 2 and 3. They're going to bang a little bit of wheels as Paris gets ahead of Brownie. Is going ahead. Now, Norbert pulling away a little bit away from Warren, but Jacob is held up by Brownie, but now Warren side by side with Brownie going through 5 right now. They're still side by side. Warren going around the outside of Brownie. Can Jacob follow suit? Norbert Jacob trying to go around the outside of Brownie as he got overtaken by both the Red Bulls there, but does not get around the Renault of Brownie, so he is somewhat stuck as the Red Bulls get unleashed to catch up to the AlphaTauri of Florian Knapik, who's kind of run away from them. Jan Fehler's a little farther behind them as well. He is unfortunately a little farther back. Casino P picks up another time penalty. So it looks like staying out longer as of right now has not benefited some of these guys. We'll have to keep an eye on it. But now Fehler trying to go side by side with Norbert Jacob in the 3rd sector. That is not something you normally see, as here comes the rain. You can see it on my screen. A couple of raindrops coming from the sky right now. We have Christian Sandell into the pits for intermediates. It's definitely not wet enough for intermediates just yet, but he's decided that he's had enough of those soft compounded tires. But Fehler up to P12. This is actually huge for the likes of Kryzik and Scrippy, who are up ahead. They got Tom 97 not too far behind. But these 3 guys up front who've stayed out, if they can hang on a lap or 2 longer, which is going to be very hard on those old soft tires, you know, they're going to come out with the intermediates in a very good position. Kalachu, who's looking the best off, as his tires are not too worn, considering they are the hards. Currently is our current race leader, but he does have that time penalty, which might come to bite him in the butt later. So a lot is still going to happen on lap 13 now. A lot of action going on, and some drivers elected to stay out, like the likes of Hittinen and Duza. Florian Knapik currently running 2nd out of the drivers who pitted. He's got Paris Burrell gaining on him behind him, so he needs to get around Hittinen as Daigoro picks up a time penalty. Florian trying to make the move on him. He's basically pushing him through the 3rd sector. He has the clear tire advantage. Warren picks up another time penalty. Now down the main straight, Florian going to go to the right-hand side and make the move probably before the braking zone. But interestingly enough, Scrippy into the pits and onto the intermediate compound of tire. Mercedes is saying, all right, time to go for the intermediates. Might as well. Those softs are dead. Kryzik is still out on track right now on those very old soft tires. 13 laps old, which is way longer than you want to keep those tires out, but it is raining, and I think he's just waiting a little bit longer until the DRS gets turned off and the intermediates become ideal. Because if you look right now at Christian, he was on intermediates, but he is not keeping with Bogan. He was 3.3 ahead and more as the lap goes on, so might be a little too early for that. Looking at Zoran, who is still on those old tires. Why won't it change for me? Please change. There we go. Zoran now into P10 on those very, very, very old soft tires, as the rain is coming a lot earlier than the end of the race. So curious to see if it gets, how heavy it gets, and when it gets heavy enough for intermediates. But for the likes of our soft tire runners of Kryzik and Zoran, it's not looking too fun right now, as Tom has made the overtake on Kryzik and is up to P2. And he's got Kalachu in his sights. It says he's 1 lap behind, but he's only 1.2 behind the Renault. Tom's nearest competitor on the same strategy right now is Florian, who is 4 seconds behind. So Tom has really been gapping the field right now. He's looking a class above the rest. Florian Knapik, meanwhile, in the background, has made the move on Duza before turn 1, and Florian up to P3, looking to have a very good result right now. So all the drivers have picked up time penalties. Interesting, Kryzik's also in the pits and onto intermediate tires. So not too many drivers left who haven't pitted. So we'll have to keep an eye on it. Kalachu still barely keeping Tom out of DRS range, but now Tom just got it through turn 6, so my commentator curse on Kalachu is not going too well for him today. But the rain is coming. Question is, how much harder will it get? Because these drivers knew it was supposed to rain. but it didn't seem like they knew how hard it was going to rain. So if it doesn't really get too hard for like intermediates or wet tires, then you know this race will go interesting. As Christian now, interesting enough, he was 3 seconds behind Bogan. Now is well over 10. It is definitely way too early for those intermediate tires. So Scrippy, Christian, and Kryzix definitely did not make the right strategy. But speaking of the right strategy now, Tom 97 on the rear bumper of Kalachi. Kalachi doesn't have the ERS to defend. Tom has the DRS. He has enough ERS, and Tom will take the lead on lap 16 before entering turn 1. The Alfa Romeo driver started from pole, looking to run away from the rest of the field now, as he is now going into turn 4. Tom, once again, the race leader. So meanwhile, in the background, we got battling. Looks like Duzo's dropping down the order on his older medium tires. Failer up to 6th right now. He's behind Warren once again, and not too far behind Burrell. He was ahead of them before the pits, along with Florian Napik. So by pitting later, it has not given him the position advantage, but he has a little bit of a tire advantage on these guys. So as the rain continues to come down, it might benefit him a little bit, so keep an eye on it. But another thing to keep an eye on is the guys in the intermediates of Kryzix, Scrippy, and Christian Sendel. Kryzix on the fresh intermediates. He's looking awfully slow right now. Does not look like those intermediate tires are just working for him at all. He's got Zorn a little farther up the road. Zorn actually opted for a fresh set of softs. And just look how much time Zorn's getting over Kryzix right now. He's got 5/10 in the last few corners. As Florian Napik's into the pits, is he going on intermediates? I don't think that's the right strategy. I mean, Kryzix just lost over a second to Zorn on fresh softs. Yes, Florian on to intermediates now. I do not think that's the right strategy at all. Kryzix just lost a second and a half to Zorn. Now 2 seconds over the course of half a lap. Please let me change drivers right now. Thank you. Yeah, over half a lap, Kryzix has lost 2 seconds to Zoran. So it is no way wet enough for intermediate tires. So everyone's on the intermediates is on the wrong strategy right now. It's going to end in tears for these guys. So that is very unfortunate to see, as the dry tires are still faster, as the rain is not coming down hard enough for the intermediates. Scrippy's into the pits right now. I think he's going to go back onto softs. Yeah, he's going to go back onto the dry tires and just do some damage control. He's serving a penalty right now. I guess that was from speeding in the pit lane before, but yeah, it's a 5-second penalty, so he serves that now, and he leaves the pits. He's first of the drivers who was on intermediates, now back on the dry compound tire. Tom 97, meanwhile, in the final sector. Won't lap him, but will not be too far behind. But Tom on his second stint softs, looking mighty quick. Kalachu on 17 lap all the hards, keeping pace with Tom for the most part, and keeping it very interesting, because if Tom picks up a penalty, it's game on. But, you know, that's a big if, because Tom just needs to keep it clean at this point, and he will have this race in his bag. Paris in P3, which is not enough to secure the championship, let alone the fact he's not even beating Tom. So he's got a lot of work to do if he wants to keep the championship fight alive, but I'm sure he's more concerned about keeping it on track and keeping his teammate behind. So he's looking good in a podium position, but he's got Jan Fehler in P5 without a penalty. So penalties will come into effect later on. CNLP with another time penalty right now. Let's take a look at the time penalty. CNLP up to 15 seconds. He's averaging enough penalties that could get him DSQ'd by the game. Hopefully he does not, but 15 seconds on lap 18 is a lot. Everyone else with mainly 3 and 6 second time penalties, so not too much, but Warren will drop down, and some of these other guys who do have those bigger time penalties will drop down the order, so unfortunate to see. As we go through the race, we're at the halfway point now as Tom goes through the final corner. Is he coming into the pits? Yes, he's coming to the pits. So maybe he thinks it's time for intermediate compound tire. So does Kalachu. I guess Jeff came on the radio and said, come into the pits, box now. The Red Bulls, meanwhile, are staying out. Hard to tell who's really fast right now, the intermediates or the dry tires. Yeah, it's really kind of hard to tell. Dagora's into the pits. Let's look at Zorn's race. Fehler going up the inside of Dylan Warren into turn 1. Fehler trying to hang it around the outside 2, on the inside 3. Fehler loses the rear end, saves it, but he will lose DRS range to the drivers ahead. That is not what the McLaren wanted. But our former race leader and championship leader, Tom, in 6th right now on the intermediate compound tire. Let's keep an eye on his delta to Brown. It was 3.3, now it's 3.5. So if Tom can't keep that gap or close it up, then we still know that's too dry for the intermediate tires right now, especially through this middle sector of the track. That's where it'll really come into effect. Who has more grip, those old hards or the intermediates? Kalachu did pit behind him, so that is still game on. Tom gaining a little bit of time on those hards. Hard to tell how it is. Let's pull the gap to the leader. So 18.4 right now to Paris. Paris in the final sector with his teammate Dylan Warren and Failer. Will any of these guys come into the pit? Let's look at Failer's POV. They're all staying out. They've actually increased the gap to Tom 97 in the final sector. And it's still increasing, so the intermediates still are not the tire to choose. It's looking like this is still a dry tire race as they got a second through that 3rd sector. It was 18-something seconds, now it's 19.5 and increasing. So this is not good if you are Tom or Kalachu, especially Kalachu, who was on those old hards, who was making it work. It'll be curious to see if it gets wetter or not. But right now, Paris in the position he needs to be in. Kalachu trying to go around the outside of Tom into turn 1. Kalachu using all his battery. He's going to go side by side into turn 2. They're going to stay side by side through 3. Tom will hold on to the position. Not sure how much battery either of them has. They're both got their blinking lights, probably because of the rain. No, Kalachu has absolutely no battery. Really go up the inside. Tom into 4. No. Thinks better of it and will hold position for now. He's looking very quick behind the Alfa Romeo Dryer, but their battling has increased the gap by another second to the Red Bulls ahead. They lost a second in the 1st sector in regards to due to the battling. So this is not good at all for either of these drivers, who most certainly have been overcut by the Red Bulls and the McLaren ahead. Our race leaders still staying out on track. No. Failer's into the pits now. He has decided it's time for the intermediates. Not sure if that's the right call or not, considering the time Tom was losing. He hasn't really lost much time in the middle part of this lap to Paris and Dylan. He's lost a little bit, but most of his time loss was probably due to battling. But Failer now in the pits. He's really taking a while in it. He's taking a sweet old time in the pits. He's leaving it now. Tom is way up the road. There's a yellow flag in sector 1. That is a round Red Bull. Is that Dylan Warren? That is Dylan Warren. What happened there? Does he have wing damage? I don't think so. It looks like those softs are not working for him at the moment. Those 9-lap-old softs gave up on him through turn 3. And Warren spun off and now is 10 seconds behind his teammate. So he's not able to help out his ally there, but he's given himself a gap. So he might be able to come to the pits this lap if Paris comes into the pits as well. So keep an eye on it. But interesting enough, Failer lost a decent amount of time to Tom. And now it looks like the intermediates are a little faster as Tom has started to close the gap on Paris. So even though I don't think DRS has been disabled, it looks like the intermediates are starting to become faster. Now the likes of Scrippy and them, who came and pitted a lot earlier, definitely way too early for the intermediate tires. But right now, it's looking pretty good if you're the likes of Tom. I mean, Failer is 9 seconds behind Tom. So I guess hard to tell. Paris into the pits, Warren into the pits, but Failer lost a lot of time to Tom there. He wasn't too far behind before the pits, but it didn't look like Tom was having record-breaking pace. But now the question is, where does Paris come out? In retrospect, he will come out behind his championship rival. More importantly, Kalachu has the DRS. He's got the DRS, and he's going to swing to the right-hand side of the track, and he will take the lead from Tom 97 before turn 1. Kalachu is in front for the 2nd time today, as DRS has just been disabled, so Tom won't be able to rely on that to take the position back. Kalachu, though, has to hope that Tom grabs a penalty. And Paris, who is currently sitting in P3, wants to hope that Tom has some catastrophic issue and has to drop down the order. Otherwise, his championship hopes are dashed. Interesting enough, Hittinen is still on the soft compounded tire. He's the only driver on the dry tires right now. He's losing a little bit of time to Norbert Jacko, but it still looked like those fresh softs are somewhat viable The enemies do look a little faster through this part of the track. Yeah, okay, so I take back what I said. Those softs are not working anymore. As Warren's going to try to go the inside at 7. Yes, Warren just has that much more grip on this fresh intermediates, so hits it in, electing for the softs. Unfortunately, a little too late for that as he is down to P7 and probably will drop a little bit more unless he pits to get on a fresh set of wet rubber. Towards the front, Kalachu has gapped Tom by a second. It looks like Kalachu was ready for the rain. Tom's gaining a lot of time down the front straightaway. He's probably using a decent amount of battery. Let's see what kind of battery he's got. He's got 14% ERS. Kalachu's got 6. Kalachu's basically squashed in that regard. Also, behind him, Paris is at 48. So Paris has a lot of ERS to work with and could very well use that to make the overtakes happen. Kalachu did gain a lot of time, though, in the third sector, so he might be running a little bit more downforce, which might help him out. I mean, he's got a 3-second time penalty, but if he can just keep it at that, who knows? Maybe he can gap Tom enough to pull away and still win it even with the penalty. We'll have to keep an eye as several drivers in the background pitted, hitting in. Florian Gnapic and Kryzik's all in the pits. There we go, right driver. The Mercedes, the Finnish driver, leaving the pits now, not too far behind his former rival Zoran. The two of them used to race in F2 and provide plenty of action. And now they will battle once again. Interesting enough, hitting his former teammate Bogan is now back to P11, recovering after that wing damage and looking to continue to improve on his position, but he does a very fast Florian Knapic behind him. So Florian looking to recover after the wrong tire call earlier on. So looking to fix from that as well. So we'll keep an eye on these guys as they're battling for a point. As hitting in may be reeled in by Bogan. We'll have to keep an eye on that. But up towards the front, Kalachu, almost a second ahead of Tom. Hasn't really gapped him on this lap, but he's using the battery to pull away from the Alfa Romeo driver. Burrell is within a second of Tom ahead, so these three guys within pretty close proximity of each other with 12 2/3 laps to go. So a lot of racing to go, especially in the wet weather as these laps are certainly slowing down. But Tom, without having a penalty, is in the best position right now. But if he picks up a penalty, it's anyone's game. We'll have to keep an eye on it. Failure behind has not had any luck of closing the gap of the drivers up ahead. He showed a lot of pace early on. I mean, he battled Tom early on in the race at the start, trying to take the lead, but he might have gotten held or something in the pits, which would explain why he lost so much time, unlike Paris and Warren. Well, Warren wasn't going to lose time, but then he had that spin. But even then, he's only 5 seconds behind Failure after a 10-second spin. So I think Failure might have gotten screwed over by his teammate pitting a lap earlier, which is a very unfortunate and ridiculous bug in the game. But nothing we can do here at AOR. So back to the app. Kalachu gained a half second there in the final sector over Tom. And now Tom is falling under pressure from Paris Burrell behind. Can Paris start to gain down the front straight? He's not burning any extra battery, and he does not have the DRS advantage, but he does have the energy. So if he wants to make the move and pressure his championship rival, he's going to have to do it soon. He looks like he's running more downforce as he was able to break that much later than Tom. Tom really struggling right now. He's almost 2 seconds behind Kalachu. Paris is just being reeled right in. So Tom not looking like he's got the wet weather pace right now. I think it's a setup issue as he gains a little bit on the straights, but in all the braking zones and the slower speed portion of the track, he's losing a lot of time to Paris and Kalachu ahead. So we'll have to keep it on this right now as we ride on board with Paris, who's getting a nice view of Tom's rear diffuser and rear wing. He's got a blinking red light to know where he's at in the midst of the little bit of spray that's getting kicked up. But not too much, but we're not sure if the rain will continue to pick up. I mean, it's certainly much wetter on the track than it was before. So lap 25 out of 36 now. And this rain has definitely thrown a little bit of a fork into things, as it definitely made it interesting to see how drivers qualified and whatnot. Kalachu, by unfortunately starting P11, he did spin in the last corner. That strategy's going to pay off for him as he started P11. He's up in the first place right now. Only needs to get another second on Tom, which seems very doable considering the current pace advantage he has. And that second could give him the race victory. So P11 to P1 drive would be awesome. But right now, with the penalty situation, he would beat Paris and is guaranteed a top 2 as things stand. So Kalachu having the drive of the day so far, but we still got plenty of time left to go. Through the order right now, Bogan got overtaken by Florian Knapik. His Florian is up to P11, but Hitsonen, crucially, is now 5.3 ahead. He was only 3 seconds before when we looked at this battle, but now, a few laps later, Hitsonen starting to reel in Zorn, who's reeling in CNLP. I don't believe CNLP has scored a point yet in F1. Well, I'm going to double check that right now. I mean, CNLP unfortunately has all those penalties. As Paris Burrell picks up another time penalty. That's 6 seconds worth of penalties right now. So Kalachu will certainly beat him at this rate. CNLP still has 15 seconds of penalties, which will probably cost him that first coveted point that he so desires, but Racing Point driver's having a pretty good race so far. Let's give him a little bit of a highlight right now. The Racing Point driver from Austria. He joined mid-season in AOR, and now he's currently running in P8 and F1. The penalty situation, not the best thing to happen, but he's still having a very good drive today as he's running in 8th position. Scrippy picking up yet another time penalty. Zorin picking up a time penalty. The time penalties are coming left and right now. The fact that Tom, Failer, Bogan, Brownie, and Kryzix haven't picked them up is outstanding. So great job for those guys keeping it clean. As Florian picks up a time penalty as well. But I think our closest battle right now is going to be Hitsonen, who's now within quote-unquote DRS range, even though there is no DRS available, of Zorn. He's really flying right now on these intermediate tires, which looks like how he set up his car for today. As he's only 6 tenths behind, he's got the battery to make the move work. Question is, will he be able to get close enough, probably into turn 4? So he needs to get a really good run through 2 and 3 to make this work. Now, through turn 1, 4 tenths behind. Now he's got a very good run through 2, and he's got a pretty clean exit. A little bit of rear wheel spin there, which will cost him, and I think that will keep him behind for this lap. Not sure if he'll be able to get close enough through the S's, but we'll keep an eye on him. I'm actually right on board with him as we get a nice view of this almost 3-way battle for 8th. Because CNLP is right there. It says a second gap, but when you're driving, you see a car that close, it feels like it's a lot closer than that. Kalachu and Tom both into the pits right now for a new set of intermediate tires. I did not expect this to happen. I didn't think that the tires were taking that much wear, but I guess pitting earlier is not going to make it to the end of the race. So Paris now is leading the race, and he's got the gap he needs to Failure to win the race, and Tom, conveniently enough for Paris, is in P6. So as things stand, the championship holds. And but the fastest lap does go to Tom. So if I do my math correctly, that might actually mean Tom might win the championship here. Let's see, because he will get... Well, actually, no, Tom will stay in the fight because he's in 6, so it's not working out for Paris. I do apologize that my math has gone wrong. Now, Brownie, not far behind Tom right there. You can see him in the rear view mirror. He's not 17 seconds behind. He is only a couple seconds behind. Let's see if we can fix that. It's just not going to fix whatever we do. So Brownie not far behind Tom. If he can catch up to the Alfa Romeo and pressure him, he could steal the chances of Tom winning the championship today. But it's gonna be a tall order for Browning as Daigoro is onto the wet tires. Please switch to Daigoro game. Thank you. And Daigoro now leaving the pits on the wet tires. He is currently in 17th. He's still on the lead lap. You can see Paris in the background right now. We'll have to keep an eye if Daigoro's strategy does pay off. He's got a lot of battery to work with. But we'll have to wait and see how the wet tire feels, because if the wet tire turns out to be the better competent tires, it keeps getting wetter on the track, then Tom and Kalachi may have pulled a very unfortunately timed pit stop and pitted too early, which we've seen plenty of drivers pit too early today, and that's cost plenty of drivers plenty of positions. But right now it's looking like Paris Burrell is in a very good spot to win this race. If he can stay on this tires to the end of the race, he will have the victory in his hands. Failure in second place, which I believe was due to the fact he was held in the pits due to a bug in the game, where if your teammate pits about a half lap ahead of you, the pit crew takes a good old time to, you know, get situated and everything. And they like to take their time to grab your tires, and next thing you know, you lose like 8 seconds. And as a result, you are very mad in the cockpit, and you basically want to scream your head off. So hopefully Failure is not doing that under the cockpit right now. He's currently sitting in a guaranteed second position as things stand, and having a very good drive. If he can somehow get 3 seconds on Paris, he can steal the race win, but he's losing a little bit of time to the Red Bull right now as we speak. Failure running in a very good second position. He's gotten over Jacob behind him. He's looking very quick, but Jacob does have a penalty. So if Jacob's showing a little bit more pace and looking like he can catch up to Paris, maybe Failure will consider letting him by, just pull him along. But we'll have to wait and see, because I'm sure Failure would rather win that battle on track. Meanwhile, Tom's starting to close back up to Kalachi. There's only 6/10 between the two of them. Kalachi before the pit stop was 2 seconds ahead, as Daigoro has retired, so the wet tires has not worked out. We'll have to see if he was into the wall. It's a virtual safety car. He was into the wall. There is a bunch of carbon fiber on the right-hand side of the track. So not sure what happened there. This VSC will help preserve the life of the intermediate tire runners. CLP is into the pits. So is Bogan. While they're going a fresh set of intermediates, they can't get the fastest lap since it is not going to be dry for the rest of the race. But they can still go for, you know, maybe a good result. I mean, they're on worn tires, and there's 6.5 laps to go, 7 for these guys who still have to come around the track in extra time. So I'm not sure if their tires would have lasted, but yeah. We'll have to keep an eye on them. Hopefully, you know, they can get back into the points, but CNLP's penalties will not be good. As CNLP picks up a drive-through for speeding under the VSC. So his day has gone from bad to worse, as that will promote Bogan up into 11th and higher up the grid. But they did lose a lot of time to Florian and other drivers who are currently running in the points, so it's not looking likely for them. Meanwhile, back to the battle of Tom and Kalachi. These two have been battling since right before the pit stops for the wet tires. When Kalachi was on those hards, and Tom got through on his fresh set of softs. Now Kalachi has the advantage in terms of position on track, but Tom has the advantage of the fact he doesn't have a penalty. Another penalty for Florian Knappik. You know, very unfortunate for him as well, as he's running down in P10. He's got a huge buffer though behind him, so the penalties may not matter, and he might still hold on to P10. But his teammate Tom kind of stuck behind Kalachi right now. But 6th place is good enough to win the championship. I did redo my math, and that is good enough for Tom to win it. So he just needs to hang on, and Tom 97 will be our Season 20 PCF1 champion. So he's got 5 laps and a little less than 2 sectors to go, and this man right here will have the ultimate glory that we can offer. So, but interesting enough, Kryzix and Duza are on the wet tires right now. Doesn't really look like they're getting the pace advantage that they're looking for. On the drivers ahead, they're dropping off a little bit on the straight. Through Sector 1, can Kryzix gain on Bogan? Not really. No, and Bogan's on a fresh set of intermediates, so white tires definitely not the move right now, and I think that's what happened to Daigoro, where he just probably lost traction. Interestingly enough, a few cars ahead, Florian and Knappik all over the rear end of hitting him, but cutting a turn 11 right there won't help you at all in terms of penalties and actually getting position. CNLP still has to serve that drive-through, so hopefully he does not get disqualified as a result. Florian's up to 18 seconds of penalties right now. So I'm pretty sure, yeah, so right now he's barely got a gap on Bogan, so he needs to get around these guys, otherwise he'll actually lose that last points paying position. Yeah, because that's 18.2 seconds now, 3, nope, 2. It's fluctuating a lot. It's 18.2 seconds between him and Bogan. So Florian now, can he make the move into turn 1 on Hittinen? He needs to get it done now. And to get a move on it, he's going to go to the inside of the track, try to break later, but Hittenen's going to swoop around the outside and hold onto the position, but he gets a really compromised run through 2. Florian pushing Hittinen through 3. Does he have the battery to make the move work? Both drivers only able to rely on battery. Neither of them really getting a slipstream from Zorn ahead, and Hittinen's going to stay in nose ahead into 4. They're going to be side by side, though. Florian has the inside line for turn 5, and it looks like he'll have the position. Just barely leaves a little bit of room for Hittinen, but it does not matter as the German driver is up to P9. But crucially, Bogan is under that 18-second margin. Up ahead, Tom97 has made the overtake on Kalachu into turn 13. So not a normal overtaking spot on the track, but it's a hairpin, so it's still a very good spot. And Tom is up to P5 right now and looking to steal P4 from Dylan Warren. A position he'd get either way due to penalties. Tom has an insane amount of overspeed. He's almost out of battery. He had 40% at the start of the straight, and now he's down to 18 after braking, but he's got a nose in there into turn 2. He's got to be very careful. He doesn't want to get any damage. He's all on the rear end of Dylan Warren now. He's looking, trying to get around him. He looked left. He's looking right. He's going to look left again. No, Warren covers off the left-hand side. Tom going to the right-hand side of the track. He will try to brake later. He just needs to hold that line. He's got the inside line for turn 5. Tom97 has the line. Warren goes way too wide. Tom is up to P4, and Kalachu looking to also join in on the fun. Warren getting a 3-second time penalty for getting pushed wide there. Tom up to P4 now. Kalachu side by side with Warren, and Kalachu is through on Warren. But Kalachu runs deep through 8 and cuts the corner, and that will release Tom a little bit. So now Tom is in 4th position now with 3 laps in a sector to go. So the British driver having a phenomenal drive right now. But interesting enough, Paris still hanging on those old intermediate tires, 11 laps old, with some other drivers elected to pit off of. And it's looking like that might be the strategy in regards to winning the race. But it's like Tom and Kalachu went with the safe route and decided to pit, just make it to the end of the race. Warren into the pits right now. I guess his tires must be dead, or he's got some kind of puncture or whatever. Not sure what the meaning of the pits is. He's got the gap to Zorn to pit successfully and come out in the position. He's going to lose the position to Brownie, though, which is unfortunate. He's on wet tires right now. I don't think it's wet enough for wet tires. We haven't seen anyone really make it work. I mean, Bogan has insanely gapped Kryzix, who's on wet tires. Now Warren's going to have to deal with Zorn and Florian Knappich and Hittinen. So he's now in the midst of a 4-way battle. Does he have enough overspeed and acceleration from the pit exit to stay ahead of Zorn? Not at the moment. But the wet tires haven't looked like the tire to be on. And I think it's not worth the pit stop. Because now Zorn, who's on 11-lap-old intermediates, is on the rear end of Warren. Warren using all that battery to stay ahead. But he might lose the position to the Ferrari driver, but it doesn't matter because Florian Knappich pressuring Zorn on the inside. Florian trying to make the move stick now around the outside in turn 5. We haven't seen him make it work, but Florian's got left end plate damage, so the fact he's making it work around there is very interesting. He gets the understeer from that damage. So to go around the outside of turn 6, barely leaving enough space for Zorn. They're going to go side by side into the S's, into turn 7, and Florian's going to be just ahead, but he's going to have to cut the corner to stay ahead of Zorn. They're still going to be side by side through 8 and 9, but Florian's going to be up ahead into 10, but Zorn's all on the rear end now out of 11. Hittinen's basically pushing Zorn on the exit there. Can Hittinen have a move on Zorn? No, he does not. He holds back, but Zorn must not be happy with Florian going off track to hold position. So not the nicest of driving there by the Alfa Romeo, but with 2 laps to go, Zorn still has time to retake the position, which he should get anyways due to penalties. No, but looking at the rest of the grid right now, Warren into the pits again. He's back onto the intermediates. So I guess he's just decided that the points aren't worth his time, and he'd rather finish this race comfortably, which will guarantee Bogan points now. He was up to P10. Warren down in P11. He won't lose P12 to Kryzix by the looks of it. He should come out far enough ahead, but hard to tell if he'll get any more positions. He's got 14 seconds of time penalty, so he's basically just put himself out of the points due to that. Let's go back up towards the front now. Paris Burrell in the final sector. He's got 2 more corners and a lap to go, and he will be our race winner here in Mexico. He only has 6 seconds of time penalty, so he's got the gap he needs by failure and then some. Behind him, though, our championship leader, Tom97, battling side by side with Norbert Jacob now in the third sector. Tom, on much fresher intermediate tires, has made it through. Behind him, Kalachu trying to make the move on the inside of the Alpha Tower. He's going to make the move done. They're going to go side by side down the front straight, and Kalachu looks like he has the move done. Banshee said that he spun into the pits. That would make sense why he fell back. So makes a lot of sense. Kalachu's up in the 4th position behind our championship leader in 3rd place. But let's return the spotlight now to Paris Burrell, who's done a phenomenal job in the race lead. Burrell in the Red Bull has only got a sector and a half to go, and this race will be his. He's done a fantastic job today of keeping his tires alive by going long on both sets of softs, waiting till the rain, and then putting on that one set of intermediate tires, which will work out for him perfectly. He's only got one sector to go now as he's going to cross that sector 2 line. He's into the last part of the track. Burrell, I don't know if the fireworks will go off in the rain, but hopefully for him they do. Normally there's a fantastic show. Yes, there go some of the confetti. I'm sure there's fireworks up in the clouds right now. Paris Burrell through turn 16 and now through turn 17 will come home and win the Mexican Grand Prix. He is our race winner today, but more importantly now as Tom97 makes the overtake through 13 on Jan Fehler. He will come through turn 16 and 17 now, and he will cross the line, and he is your Apex Online Racing Season 20 PCF1 champion. Congratulations, Tom97. You have done it. You are a champion. And in 3rd place is Jan Fehler to round out our podiums. But how about that by Tom97 winning the championship in style, coming home on the podium. Not the race victory, so he didn't get the perfect race, but finishing in 2nd place. You still have to be very happy with that, as he is our champion this season. Amazing drive and an amazing season by Tom97. Farther back, we got Kalash, who will finish in P4. His teammate Brownie in P5, so a very good day for the Renault drivers. P6 is Norbert Jacob in the Alpha Tower, who will drop down a little bit due to penalties. 7th place, Bogan, able to recover a lot, even though the Delta says otherwise, after losing part of his front wing on lap 1. So very good job for the Polish driver. Another good result. Zorn finishing P8, hits it in P9, and Florian Knapik, even with all his penalties, finishes P10. So how about that for points? But Kryzix is 11th, Duza 12th, Warren 13th, Cino P14th, Squirpy 15th, and Sandel is in 16th. It's unfortunate that Tom cannot give us the donuts, but we'll just keep the spotlight on him now, as he is our Apex Online Racing PCF1 champion. It's been a very well-deserved result to a very up-and-down season for all of AOR, but that does not matter, because he is our champion. And Paris Burrell here, let's not forget that he, even though his championship hopes were dashed today, he still came out and gave it his all and did everything he could, and he has won the Mexican Grand Prix and is at the top step of the podium after a very fantastic drive. So our first 2 finishers of the race, hats off to them. One of them a race winner once again, and the other one a first-time AOR champion, I believe. So hats off to Tom. As we look at our final results today, Paris Burrell, even with his 2 3-second time penalties, is our race winner. Tom97 in 2nd, and Jan Fehler rounding out our podium today. So hats off to the 3 of them. We'll make sure we record the whole race finishing results. We only had 2 DNFs, right, of Daigoro and BenQ. So pretty good job. A lot of penalties, though. So we'll make sure we get the incident tab now, just in case anyone needs to look at the race director. Now, I did tell the drivers that if anyone wants a post-race interview, to just go into the ready for interview part of the Discord. So we'll have to wait and see if we get any drivers, interested. But one last time, congratulations to Paris Burrell on the race win, and Tom97, our new AOR champion. So great job to them now, as I'm going to go ahead and close the game. Let's see if we have anyone looking for a post-race interview. I don't see anyone looking for one at the moment. We'll see if anyone wants it. Yeah, we'll see. I'll put it in, leave it in if in case anyone would like one. I don't see anyone at the moment, but we'll go ahead and we'll relook at the championship standings before the race and then, revisit it after. So before the race, Tom had that 68-point gap, and now he is our Apex Online Racing champion as he gapped Paris by enough points. He only lost 7 points to Paris, but there was a more than a 52-point gap between the two drivers going into Brazil, and so it is mathematically impossible for Paris to win it all. So great job for the two of them. It was a season-long battle, which benefited to the benefit of Tom, the fact that Paris did not start 2 races and DNF'd, but that's sometimes how it goes. And it was some fantastic driving that we've seen so far this season. But we still have 2 more races. We've got 2 more races left to go. We'll be at Brazil next week, and then at Abu Dhabi the week after. So stay tuned, everyone. We still got plenty of action still left to come in Season 20. It's going to end in Season 20, which is interesting because it was started in 2020, which is not the best year for the world. But now we are in 2021, and things are looking up. We have a new champion, and we have still some fantastic driving. So it does not look like we'll be able to get any post-race interviews today, unfortunately. But that's okay, because, we might be able to get some more next week. Thank you, everyone, for watching today. As always, we appreciate it here at Apex Online Racing, and we hope you join us next week for more Tier 1 action as we go into Sao Paulo at Interlagos for the Brazilian Grand Prix, one of the favorite tracks by most of the drivers, period. So this should give us some very exciting racing next week around there, as we'll be seeing a new champion drive around the track as well. So please, we would be more than happy to see you come back, and I hope everyone has a great, wonderful Sunday. And we'll tune in next week for more Apex Online Racing, Hype Energy, Formula One leagues. Thank you, everyone, and have a good night.